So, welcome to Social Media 101. So, I'm Charlene, and I am one of the facilitators with Hustle and Heels. So, I'll be facilitating today's session. My expertise, my background is in recruitment marketing, digital brand attraction, music events marketing and management, early careers development, and diversity consulting. So, I have done quite a lot of work around digital marketing within those sectors. So within recruitment marketing and digital brand marketing, and then kind of managing social media profiles for artists as well. So managing profiles from people who have about 2,000 to nearly 1 million, and looking at kind of strategies around how we engage with people that follow them. My background is in law, so I did a master's in law and my undergraduate in law. So that kind of creeps in sometimes, but typically I stay away from the law side of things. And my role at the moment is I'm a consultant at Big Four. So hopefully all of that knowledge will come into today's session as we're talking about social media strategy and content creation to help you kind of really make sure the right people are seeing your products and engaging with your brand. So that's a little bit about me. If you have anything to say around, how comfortable you feel or uncomfortable you feel around certain social media platforms, AJ, please feel free to put it in the chat. So you can do a general one. So I always do 1 to 5. So 1 being need help, 5 being fairly comfortable, but obviously could use more, 3 obviously being in the middle. So how do you feel on, you can just put like FB for Facebook, 1 to 5, IG for Instagram, and then TikTok or whatever else that you use, 1 to 5 as well, just so I get a good kind of understanding of where you are with your social media journey so far. I'll give you some time just to do that as well. Let's see, Instagram 3, so kind of in the middle, yeah. Facebook 1, yeah. Facebook is so interesting because so many businesses have been built from Facebook, but I guess just the nature of time, people have kind of moved a little bit away from Facebook. Actually, Facebook 0, okay. That is fine, that is fine. And we'll talk about Facebook because actually there are some good things that Facebook actually does provide when it comes to this area. Okay, and so it's just Instagram that you use, you don't use TikTok or any other social media platforms right now, Pinterest, etc. Great, okay, so we're mostly on Instagram. Let's explore some of that as we're going through. So for the schedule for today is, of course, this is part of the Elevate program from Waltham Forest, and we work in conjunction with Waltham Forest and Create to make sure that we are supporting local businesses within the Waltham Forest area. I'm from Waltham Forest as well. It's all about business recovery and growth and making sure that we provide good information for people to grow their businesses and strategy and insight on a range of different areas. So like I mentioned earlier, we have colleagues who will be delivering sessions across different topics. So people in finance and different types of business coaching. And then we also provide one-to-one. So at the end of this session, if you are interested in booking a one-to-one session with any of the advisors, to really go through in detail, bit by bit, and then kind of create a bit of an action plan really for your social media strategy, you are more than welcome to do that, and book a one-to-one with them, and it will be in a different format than today's session is in. So this is part of the Elevate program from Waltham Forest. So today we're going to be looking at digital marketing. We're going to be looking at understanding social media platforms. We're going to be looking at understanding SEO, search engine optimization, and hashtags, and also looking at marketing budgets. I think it's really important to note that this is social media 101. So with these, we will go into a good amount of detail and give you really good examples. But if we're wanting to kind of create an action plan, I would probably suggest doing a one-to-one, but you will get a lot of really good information from here. So I'm going to kick off with digital marketing. We're going to look at what it is, how much you might already know about it, how it can benefit your business, and what else can it help you to do in your business. So digital marketing, is the overarching term, of course, that we use to describe the marketing of products or services using digital technologies on the internet, mobile phone apps, display advertising, probably not as much as previously, SEO, so search engine optimization, SEM, which is around marketing, and other digital mediums. So I've got a little icons here, and it talks about advertising online, also affiliate marketing. You've probably seen on social media marketing directly on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Pay-per-click, content marketing, e-commerce, Google Analytics, and then bulk email marketing. So really quite broad in terms of what we're going to look at and what fits into that digital marketing overall umbrella. One of the things that we always say when it comes to social media and building your community, who are your audience, who then hopefully then become your customers, is to find where they spend their time, so that you can use those channels to reach them. So while I think it's important that people have a social media platform that they prefer and they like to use, there might be other platforms actually where you can find more of your audience. So it's just about exploring that and seeing if there are other platforms where maybe you can build that audience, build that community, because they're already kind of people who are interested in that particular product or that particular service. So we'll look at some of the online channels that are around and look at some of the breakdowns of, what are the features, who uses them, and actually it might give you some ideas of some places where you might be able to look at. So you mentioned that you probably use Instagram more than, you've kind of explored Pinterest, but just time consuming. And Pinterest, of course, is about discovery and pinning, but they do have a really interesting kind of, when you look at Pinterest, the community side of it, in terms of people who follow your, people who pin your products, they build a community around it. So because it's focused on kind of lifestyle and fashion and beauty and overall style, people who are interested in those, that's the captive audience. So it might be one looking at if you feel like maybe something that doesn't make sense for you anymore. Absolutely fine, but I think it's worth considering in terms of who is actually already there. The people that are already there, their interest is in maybe some of the products that you might sell. What might be helpful is maybe looking at a different type of strategy in terms of how you were doing it, what were you doing, and why was it as time consuming. There might be other ways that you could do it that actually make it a little bit simpler. We have Twitter, of course. So some people might find Twitter to be the best place. So if you're doing anything to do with writing, microblogging, things that are being a thought leader, commenting on things, engaging in conversation, there are over 69 million Twitter users. This is just in the US. And every second, we estimate there's about 6,000 tweets on average, with over 300 million users. So a lot of people don't use Twitter for necessarily marketing, but they use Twitter for engagement, and they use Twitter to start conversations and to join in conversations around maybe the product that they're selling, which is actually a really good marketing tool. There are a few examples which we'll get into of people who have done that really well. So they're not necessarily saying buy my product directly, but they're having conversations that would lead people to show interest into their product and then potentially go on to buy their product. So it's a great actually marketing channel for starting conversation, being a thought leader, and for engaging people in conversation that will then go on to, again, be your community and then hopefully be your customers as well. Now, Facebook is the one that you mentioned that you probably don't use as much at all. Facebook has the biggest of still probably daily users, 1.57 billion daily active mobile users, which is a huge amount. That's a good population, a good chunk of the world. And in terms of the Facebook users, 25% of US Facebook users are 25 to 34. The majority of them are actually going to be older. So if you are doing customer profiling and you are looking at, who do I target? Are you going to look at it by geography? Are you going to look at it by age, by gender, by interest? If you are going to slice down your customer profile in that way, Facebook is a good way to do that, because they will target based on age and interest, you can actually kind of slice it down a bit better than some of the other ones where you don't have that function. And the good thing about Facebook is that if you were to create a Facebook group or to join Facebook groups, you could share your product within those groups. So I don't know if you are part of any like community groups around kind of fashion or any groups around styling, but there's going to be absolutely loads that you can join and share your products on, and or even start your own and get people to like it and engage with them. And because of the function of the liking and the sharing, people find that when they do concentrate on Facebook, actually they're able to reach certain audiences. I think with Facebook now, what we're seeing is the audience shift in terms of age. So for example, if you are trying to target maybe people who are over 35 or over 40, or people who are particularly interested in a certain type of style, etc., you might market certain things on Facebook, and then maybe the chunk of it will still be on Instagram. But I think it's important that we don't forget that Facebook is there because there is still a particular audience and particular age group who are still using Facebook. So I think we need to still remember Facebook is there, and we'll do a bit more of a breakdown, but just as an idea of the stats around age and why it's still a good platform to use. Instagram, of course, is around social, and one thing that I think we need to look at with Instagram now is the fact that pictures are not what Instagram is for. Instagram is now all about imagery that's moving, short videos, reels, IG stories, lives. That is what is getting interaction. So of course people will still post pictures, but typically you'll see that when it comes to engagement and images that are pushed for virality is videos. And great thing if you have a brand that's on fashion and styling is you can do so much with that. You can do a day in the life. You can do a how I make this. You can do styling videos. You can show what your customers have bought. You can tell your story. There's loads of things you can do with Instagram, which I think is really helpful when it comes to videos and things, a product that is a visual product essentially. So again, we'll dive back into that as well. Snapchat as well. So Snapchat is a great tool still for being behind the scenes. A lot of people have switched Snapchat for TikTok, but I think Snapchat is still good for being behind the scenes and showing people what you're doing kind of on a day-to-day basis. So I would still say Snapchat might work for some people as well. And then LinkedIn, so that's obviously the business-oriented social networking site. LinkedIn is booming at the moment, with people sharing what they do on their job in a way that I've never seen it before. Again, it's a great way to become a thought leader. It's a great way to show your work. And because it has a corporate aspect, you can share your learnings. So what is it like being a person who is creating their brand and marketing their brand and building a website? So learnings from what you have walked through or gone through with your business, that can be something that you can share on LinkedIn. So it's business oriented. There will be corporate brands, but you can connect with a bunch of different people. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn already, but the virality on LinkedIn at the moment, if you share a picture and a paragraph about your rags to riches story, just that has a real potential to be viral. And in terms of how many numbers, we're looking at over 250 million active users on LinkedIn. So just as an intro, all of these platforms are good. And again, what we need to think about is where the customers, the community that I want, where are they going to be spending more of their time? And also understanding that the way that you can promote your product across each and every one of these will be different. How you market it on LinkedIn and how you market it on Twitter and how you market it on Instagram and Facebook, they'll all be different. So do you want to be a thought leader? Do you want to share your business journey? Do you want to show your styling? Do you want to just build a community where you share information? Those are all things that you have to think of and then kind of find the platform that works best for you. Everyone tends to gravitate to one or two because they are popular ones, Instagram, for example, which is absolutely fine. But I always say to people, consider what you're trying to do or what message you're trying to get across or how you like to market, and then see if there is actually another platform that has the audience you're looking for that also actually makes sense for the way that you want to market and the message that you want to tell about your product or your service. So that's something to consider. So I'm going to pause there. If there's any questions / comments.
I just think that breakdown that you've just done of all of the individual platforms is very enlightening. Like I said, I've done social media 101 previously, but the way the world is moving, you know, all of these platforms have changed in how you're meant to use them, and I can't keep up. So yeah.
What we'll do, what is really helpful, because they have changed, like Instagram, right? When I started using Instagram for promotion of different things, it was completely different to now, where I feel like I now have to create the content, whereas before you could just post a picture.
Right.
Like to create the content, put together a reel and do a this and that. So I think that it has changed, and I think we just have to, as much as possible, do what's easier for us, for where our audience is, and something we can do consistently. I think that is what we have to do. So looking at all of these things, just think, where is my audience, number one? What can I do consistently on that platform, like every day on that platform? That is not going to be a huge task to me that I could keep up doing. And then you kind of have to just make sure that you do that. So yeah, I think it's always good to kind of just keep refreshing and seeing how the platforms are changing. But even just delving into that a little bit more, this is looking at the platforms in terms of what content to create for them that works really well. So this is from Bootcamp, Digital Bootcamp, where it shows you some of the content that you can create for those platforms, and also how often to post. I would even say, even as of recently, some of them have been updated again. So they say with Facebook, you know, post 1 to 4 times a week. You can look at when the audience is online. They always say with Facebook, you probably don't need hashtag, because there's the hashtag functionality is not as great on Facebook. You can use it, but I don't find it to be particularly useful. Photos and videos, showing things that are what they call thumb stopping power, short and catchy videos or images, or even long ones actually can work quite well for Facebook, responding to comments. And it's all about building engaging content and using I think of examples of people whose Facebook that I don't spend that much time on Facebook, but the people that I still follow on Facebook or look at their content on Facebook. And I think of someone like Tabitha Brown. I don't know if you know Tabitha Brown.
No.
She's a cook. She's a vegan. She shares her kind of vegan lifestyle, and I'm not a vegan, but I just find it really interesting to actually just watch it because she's so personable, and she uses her personality in Facebook Lives and in Facebook videos just to show you how she puts together meals, so it feels very casual, but it's a great way to promote products, etc. So Facebook for building that audience and that community and showing people what you do and how you do it, and having that relationship with people where you can be a little bit more personable, I think is a good platform for that. Instagram, Instagram, they say now to post every day, if not a couple of times a day, using your stories constantly to kind of show what you're doing and almost like a bit of a follow around. So I would say stories for Instagram is to show the behind the scenes and, like, you know, short snippets of what you're doing. But then on the grid, on the main page, is where we want to look at the actual content creation. So sometimes with Instagram, it just feels like, oh, I don't have, you know, a camera that is this quality and lighting and all of this stuff. But I would say with Instagram, the trick that I've found is to keep it simple and to keep it engaging and to keep it short. You don't necessarily need to have certain types of equipment, certain types of lighting. So if I'm on Instagram, for any of the profiles I look after, I use an iPhone. I bought a light. You might be familiar with them anyway.
The ring light.
Ring light from Amazon, which is about £16 or so. And then I've got a white studio sheet from Amazon as well, which was about, you know, £12 or something, and then my kind of stands. So I can create kind of a vibe of that. There's another, my mum, she makes jewelry, so we'll like create a fake studio. When we're helping her do it, we'll do a fake studio, and she'll, you know, do quite interesting things, or she'll, you know, use water, I'll put some of the beads in the water and put light on it. And so there's different ways to be creative that is not going to be cost effective, but is engaging and interesting to look at. But every day, they say, you know, post on Facebook. I would really recommend using Reels. I don't know how familiar you are with using them so far, but Reels are what is being pushed out. So anytime that I look at anyone's page now, I look at, you know, you have your videos, which usually don't get as many views, but the Reels are always pushed out a lot more than normal videos, or IGTV videos. So if you're creating content on IG, would probably suggest using Reels, using a trending sound. You can also use a trending song or trending, so you know how you have different videos that show different, you know, different things that seem to be trending. Any type of trending videos that make sense for you. And people also like a day in the life, and they like styling videos and things like that. So Reels is a good way to do all of that kind of information and show that information.
Just on that topic,
yes,
on Reels, on my business page, I don't know why this has happened. I've got the Instagram for my personal, and I've got Instagram for my business. On my business page, you know, when you go to put up a story or you go to put up a reel and you select the music that you want to go on there, I've got like this basic, I don't even know what to call it, music. Like there are none of the actual songs that you would want to be on there. It's this generic Zap. And I don't understand why I can't have. It's
because it's a certain type of business page, so you can add music to personal pages and another type of page. But with some of the business ones, I know that I've noticed that as well, you can't add certain types of, I'm just pulling up my phone, you can't add certain types of songs. So if it's a certain type of page, so I've got like a page here that's an education page, etc. I can't add certain types of songs, but what I do is I might create the video on my personal page and add the song to my personal story or whatever, and then the story will save with the image or the video, save it and then upload it. That's for stories. With Reels, you can't save the song. So what I do is I'll either create it on TikTok or create it on Reels. And with TikTok, if you save it, it will save with the song as well. And then I would then go and upload it to my one of the professional pages. So it's really annoying. It's something that I've noticed as well. And it's just to do with, I think, because it's a business page. But yeah, there are other ways to kind of get around it. So yeah, I would definitely just you can do it on a personal page or on TikTok, for example, save the video with the music and then upload it. It'll have the music in the background. The only thing it won't have is, do you know, at the top where you can see what
the name of the song?
Yeah, you won't have that. It will just be an original. It will say like original video.
I mean, so Instagram's just going intentionally out of their way to make my life difficult.
Yeah, essentially.
For no reason.
I know. I thought the same thing as well, because I remember when I first started making some reels, I was like, why can't I pick like trending songs? You should be able to pick trending songs the same way I do on my personal profile. So for that reason, a lot of people actually just don't use business pages on Instagram. They just use their personal page. The problem with that is you don't get insights, and you're not able to use some of the functions to promote and market the same way that you do on the business page. So that doesn't make sense to me, but that's how it is. So I just use a shortcut of adding the music on another platform, downloading that, and then uploading it onto one of the business platforms.
Sure.
So that you can try that as well. Hashtags as well, of course, on Instagram, hashtags. Although I do think that hashtags, I think I still use them on relevant pages, but I do think that they're becoming a little bit obsolete. And it's more important to pay attention to the algorithm and when
Yeah.
you post and how often you post and the types of things you post rather than hashtags. I think hashtags worked well with images, but with reels, not so much. I think it's more so the type of content you're posting with your reel, when you're posting it with your reel and how often you're posting to your reel, is what kind of pushes the content out, and the trends that you're following. And you can use sounds as well on reel, so you can still use sounds that are not music but just trending sounds. So I save every time I hear a sound that I think is interesting, or a sentence or a statement, or the type that I just save it and I try to look at, can I create content with this sound, with this sentence, etc. Even if it's not music per se, I try to save all the sounds, and if there's a trend, jump on the trend that way as well. So that's Instagram. So it is completely different to how when I started Instagram it was, but I listened to Tim Mosseri, who oversees Instagram, talk about how Instagram is changing, particularly in 2022. And I'm just like, well, so what's the point of posting pictures now on a business page? Like everything is about moving imagery, and videos and short videos, etc. So I think still post pictures, but I would definitely say reels are. I don't know, have you started using reels, and what's that been like for you so far?
Well, I did start, but then with the whole palaver with not being able to put on any nice music, and they've got all this old guitars, slow, very slow sounding. Like, that's not going to draw anyone to. First of all, it doesn't match the reel.
Yeah,
it doesn't match the content that I'm putting on.
Yeah,
and it's not going to draw anyone to want to watch it. So I've switched back to pictures, and then I just haven't made any content for a while.
Sure. Try that. So try making it in the reels on your personal, or the story on your personal, save it. And then, or if you create TikTok just for that. So if you create TikTok, you can add the music and it will save the music. When you download it, it will save the TikTok with the music onto it, and then you'll just have to upload it to Instagram. Or you can screen record from your personal. If you put music in the background for the real, screen record it and save that, and then crop it, put it in your other one. So there's ways to get around. It's just a bit fiddly.
That's very smart. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you can screen record it. Yeah, but just make sure as much as possible with screen record that you don't add filters, otherwise it will not be as high quality.
Oh, I don't filter anything. Shall I tell you why?
Yeah,
because God made us beautiful.
Sometimes it's too early. You want a little filter. Sometimes you want a little filter.
I don't want anyone to come for me and start going, oh, this is Photoshop. No, honey.
Yeah, you don't look like that in real life. Well, it depends how much makeup I have on, but so yeah, try that. Screen record because it will save the music obviously in the screen record, and then upload it to your business page. And you can rename the sound whatever you want, or you can still use trending sounds. So if I go to one of my Instagram pages I'm just looking at now, I can see all the saved sounds that I have, all the saved audios that I could potentially create with, and I just, anytime I hear something, I just save it, and then I go back and listen to it and think, oh, is there any content I can create with this, especially if it's a trending audio, because on business pages you can use trending audios, not music, but trending audios. So that's a good way to do that as well.
So the trending audio, that's the one that you've saved from someone else's.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And then because it's trending, a lot of people are using, which means a lot of people are looking at it, which means the algorithm is pushing it out. So more people should actually see it. So that's one thing I think that does help. To kind of be seen. So at the moment it's all about trends, isn't it? Just jumping on the trends and making it work for you. So there are some, I think, always create organic content for you, but once in a while jump on a trend, so that you can have your content pushed out and then obviously make what makes sense for you. But I think using some of the trending sounds, trending sentences, whatever, that can help push your content out with the algorithm.
Okay.
So that's IG. And then we go to Twitter. So you don't use Twitter?
I don't use Twitter, but I kind of feel like I should use Twitter because I'm a fashion brand. In my head, everything is visual. And although I write a blog on my website, I kind of feel like Twitter is, it's not really visual enough.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think that might be right. However, and I can totally understand why, but if you're already writing a blog, you might as well put bits of it on Twitter. You know, if you're already writing a blog, you can take sentences from that, put it on Twitter and say, you know, click here to read more, take you to the website, they'll read your blog, and then they might look at your clothes. So there's ways that you can kind of use Twitter as a way to, again, I think for me, starting conversations and engaging in conversation on Twitter around certain subjects that are related to the product or service that you provide is a good way to do that. And then the good thing about Twitter, which Instagram doesn't do, is it allows you to have direct links within the content, within the tweet. You can have a direct link to your website, which obviously Instagram doesn't let you do on the main feed. So that's something that might actually be good. So conversation starters, anything that's around sharing an opinion, anything that's around being a thought leader, I think Twitter is good for that. That might be something to consider. YouTube I think is an incredible platform. However, it's just about considering whether it works for you. So they do have YouTube Shorts now, where you can upload short images. But I think short videos. So the problem people have with YouTube is that it's so cumbersome. You have to film, you have to then edit, then you have to upload it. Whereas I can upload something on Instagram in a much shorter time than I can on YouTube. However, YouTube is great for how-to guides. It's great for having conversations and kind of the get to know me's where you sit and talk to people. People watch YouTube like it's TV shows when people build a community. So it's a great way for showing not just lifestyle, but who somebody is behind the product, which is a great way to obviously then sell the product, but it's a great way for people to get to know you as a person or you as the brand. So it's still worth, I think, you know, having a YouTube if that's something that you'd be interesting, just having that community where people can get to know you. And again, with YouTube, the good thing is that you don't have to post like 2 times a day with YouTube. People say typically a week is fine. So you can kind of get away with not posting every day on there. And the reason that 2 minutes is there is for YouTube Shorts, which can be less than that. But I would probably go for longer on YouTube, to be honest, on those. LinkedIn, like I mentioned, if you want to talk about the actual business side of things, what you're doing from a business perspective, what you're learning about marketing, what you're learning about product creation, what you're learning about sustainability. It's a great platform to share your thoughts on business and your business. So you can share things on sustainability and why you decided to create a sustainable fashion brand, for example. Share articles, write your own articles. You can share your blog on LinkedIn, for example. So it's a great way to share your insights on like the business and the marketing side of things with a personal lens, in a way that you can't really do on some of the other social media websites. So I would say for that purpose, it's really strong. And then the other one we talked about was Pinterest, which you kind of didn't feel, but it is a great way to build community. But I would say look at some of these and how we've broken it down in terms of who's there, and also looking at how many times to post, what you can post, the things you can do. It might be that for you, IG is the best, and you're just going to change the way that you use IG, for example, and maybe incorporate Twitter or LinkedIn. But those are, you know, core areas that you can use and can have your audience there, and you could create really interesting content on that as well. So another one that I want to highlight as we're talking about platforms is TikTok. I don't know, do you have a TikTok like page that you
I don't. You know what I had? I used to have Musical.ly, which is what TikTok was before.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just gave up on social media, and this is more of a personal thing. I didn't want to be that person who was sat addicted to my phone and be sat around, because, like, you know, everything that we've just gone over, social media is a full-time job.
It is. It's literally, my sister's a social media manager. That is her job.
Like, so, I didn't want to be that person who was sat in a room, you know, with all of their friends or gone out to dinner, and then I'm just on my phone the whole time. So I was getting rid of things systematically one by one. And now I've just like kind of pulled myself down into this hole where I got lost, and social media evolved without me.
And you know what, that's completely fair, because it can be overwhelming. And I think sometimes if you're trying to do all the things at one time, you get burnt out and you're just like, this is too much. So I guess the plan now is to be strategic about how you do it and limit how many hours you spend. You don't have to spend all day on there. You can post in the morning, you can post in the evening, and then just leave it at that. You don't have to constantly be on it. So sometimes, I remember when I was doing something that was a bit more of a campaign type thing, this was before lockdown, and everybody, I looked at the timings, and people tended to be online around 8 a.m. because that's when they were going to work. So people would be on the way to work in buses, walking, and so people would be scrolling at that time. Typically, if you remember on trains in the morning, people would always be scrolling when they got reception. And so I was like, right, I'm going to post at 8 a.m. and then I'm going to post at about 6 when people are on the way home. And we got so much engagement from that time because that was all they could do at that time. And on the other time, I didn't really look at it. So it's just about being strategic with your timings and posting.
I mean, you say that's all that they could do at that time, but I'm slowly turning into my mother. And why don't you go and read a book? Okay.
It's true. But the reality is that people were a lot of people weren't reading books. They were listening to podcasts, they were on social media, on the train. And then for me, that was easy because I could just post it on my way in and then just leave it, and I don't have to think about it. And then maybe if I posted again in the evening, or I'd check in the evening, I'd reply to comments. So I think it's just about creating something that works for you without letting it take over your life. The good thing is a lot of this content, you can pre-plan content, in bulk, and then schedule it so that you can know what days you're sending it out and what time you're sending it out, so that it doesn't take up, you're not all day monitoring things, you're just almost checking in, but you're not all day monitoring it. So if you can find like a good time, maybe spend 2 hours a week creating your content for that week, and then the time that you need to put it out every day, that will take you 5 minutes to put that out, and then maybe check in the evening to look at the comments or etc. So then it's just a little bit more of a strategy, because otherwise it's completely overwhelming, and it's something that I think we just need to get better. All of us need to get better at with social media, because you're right, it does take over your life. And if you are somebody who wants to run a business, unfortunately now it's like you can't do it without it, but like, how do you make it work for you? So just be strategic about your time. And I would say take a couple of hours out every week and plan your content, bulk plan your content, create the content you want to go out. Then you can just send it out, when you need to send it out. That helps a little bit more. So TikTok, I mentioned, is a really popular one at the moment. The good thing about TikTok is that it has still got that viral nature. You can create really interesting styling videos. They are really, really big on community on TikTok, in terms of, they call some certain things like the styling talk or fashion talk or whatever, and you still use hashtags. And the good thing about TikTok is that you don't just see the videos of people that you follow. You can see, if you wanted to, let me show you. You can see, it shows you 2 different types of pages. So you can see, oh, here we go. You can see, here we go. So you can see the people that you're following, and you'll see here it says following. So you can have just the people that you are following, and then you can click here to see for you, which is videos that are people that you're not following, but are similar to the type of content you interact with. So with that, it means that your content will be shown to people who have similar interest in what you're showing them. So that's the good thing about TikTok, is it allows for your content to be shared wider should you want it to. And you're also allowed to do really creative styling behind the scenes. And it's very easy to create kind of videos and vlogs, etc. You just film throughout the time that you want, and then you put it out. It's a lot easier than editing. You can do everything on the app. You can edit whatever you want on the app. You don't have to download another app to edit and then add the music. All of it is in there. So that's why TikTok, I think, is a good way if you're probably trying to master a few platforms. You can create on TikTok and then share it on the other platforms. So it's a good way to do that because everything will be part of that. So if you wanted to save time, I would probably say actually TikTok is a good way to go. Yeah, TikTok is still, it's still growing. So people are still creating profiles that are getting, you know, really, really, really good engagement, really good community engagement. And you can create content based on whatever it is that you want to show. So that's the good thing about TikTok. You can create content based on you and your brand, or just your brand, or just your styling videos. There are people who are very popular on TikTok that we've never seen their faces. There's different types of interests on there. It can be anything, as long as it's interesting. And people like hearing people's voices on TikTok. So you can do, you know, a day in the life where you literally just film and then just do a voiceover. This is what I did in the morning with this. I cut this. You know, this is why my brand is sustainable. Da, 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 da. And people seem to enjoy that kind of content on TikTok. So I would say that for me, TikTok is probably the one that I find easiest to create with. Now I've started, I got the profile, for example. I had a look and I studied what people were doing, and then I was like, right, I'm going to start suggesting TikTok. Because actually I think that there is some, it's easy, and there is the benefit. So might be one to look at. Clubhouse as well is there, if that's something that might be interesting. So that's more, I guess, around conversations. And if you wanted to do like webinars, instead of doing it on Zoom, you could do it on Clubhouse. So if you wanted to have a talk on sustainability or sustainable fashion, for example, you would host it on Clubhouse, share the link around, and then people who have Clubhouse or have selected, you know, that that's something they're interested in can join to listen to it. So it's a great way to, that's more for information and sharing knowledge via Clubhouse. Patreon as well, it's paid, so people pay to almost subscribe to you. So Patreon is people who you know probably are going to purchase your products or services, but you can do videos on Patreon, you can do lives, you can do sessions where you create very specific content just for that particular group. Show them, you know, maybe things that you haven't showed at other platforms, have conversations with them. And the good thing about Patreon is that because they're already paying for your subscription, they're already invested. So anything else that you probably will show them, it's likely that they will be the ones to actually, you know, go and purchase it. So these are 3 new platforms I would say are popular that people are really kind of supporting at the moment. So we're now going to look at actually understanding your social media. And let me pull up this as we're going through it on the phone. Different people use their insights for different things. I guess for you specifically, do you use your data insights, your dashboard?
I do. But then from where, like I said, I kind of went on a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
My insights aren't as telling,
sure,
as they used to be.
That's absolutely fine. So I'll cover some of the key things, I guess, now that, you know, it's important to look at. So it's really important when you're looking at your professional dashboard to have a look at your performance, and you can pick, you know, last 30 days, whatever, to see, you know, how you have tracked and where your engagement looks like, how many people have seen your information, etc. How many people have seen your information and then go on to click maybe a link to your website if you've paid for it to go and purchase it. So it's important first to just to understand when people engage with your content and why people engage with your content, so that you can obviously create more of what people seem to like. So you can see here we've got interactions. So interactions are around how many people actually were engaging and were liking, commenting, etc., saving the information. And saves are good as well, because it shows that people want to come back to look at that content, or that you've taught them something. So that's always something to look at as well. You can also see accounts reached as well. So how many accounts were reached of people that you were following and people that you were not following. And now with the new algorithm, essentially what it does now is it's going to change kind of back again, they say, but for now, essentially it will show your content to about 10% of people. And then the first 10% of people engage and like it will show it to some more people. And if more people like and engage, it will show it to more people. So it's a little bit annoying that everybody that follows you just can't see what you want, unless they have now selected that they want to specifically see your content. But essentially,
yeah, it's kind of strange, because when I do go onto social media, I'm seeing I'm not seeing posts from people that I have actively, liked their posts.
Yeah.
Or I'm not seeing recent posts. I'm seeing something from 2 days ago, 4 days ago. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So that's just the fault of the algorithm. So what you can do now is you can, let me pull it up here. So on your personal pages, you're able to select who you want to see. If you want to just look at your people that you're following, or just everybody. On business pages, I don't think you have that option. So at the moment, it's just based on popularity and what does well. And then it will show it to more people, But on your personal page, you can probably select whose content you want to see more. So it gives you the option. If I go to a personal page here, you have the option to go to, oh, here we go. You have the option to look at, so you'll see here, it says following, and then it says favorites. So following is everybody that you follow, but it will still only probably show you popular posts. And then favorites is just people that you have added into your favorites that you want to see their content. So that's it's just the algorithm wanting. It's just about popularity, annoyingly. So I guess that's why we want to be really strategic about what we post and looking at the insights to see what people have engaged with, so that we can create more of that content that people seem to engage well with our message. So that shows you the reach, so how many people, how many accounts have been reached, and then it shows you the breakdown. If you're interested in things like gender, if that's something that is important to you for your product or service, you can see how that breaks down. So you can see here we've got the Hustle and Heels account. We can see nearly 80% of the people that engage are women. About 20% of them are men. So you can see that is something that is maybe if you're having a product that is geared towards a particular gender, it will be a way for you to know if that's actually working. And then the other thing that you can see is the audience. So you can see here how many followers have decreased or increased, etc. So overall, how many people have followed you, how many people unfollowed you, etc. So you can see that there as well. So that just gives you a bit of a behind the scenes look at what's happening, and then you're able to, okay, so during these times at 9 p.m. I am, for example, going to post at this time because I can see that's fairly high. So yeah, it's just a good way to, just the data behind the story, isn't it? So just gives you an understanding of when to post, what type of content to post, what people engage with, etc. So if you want to just do some reviews, on a monthly basis, you're able to have some insight to back that up. And I find it useful sometimes. Sometimes I'll go to Insights, and I know Hustle and Heels, it's the same. So you can see how many accounts you've reached, how many people engaged, any new followers, really popular stories or popular posts, and it just helps you to decide what to keep doing. You can do it 90 days, previous month, etc., and do a bit of a deep dive into that.
Also,
yes,
another thing, sorry,
yeah, go for
is there will be times where I am consciously posting something very specific to my business, and I'm throwing up the hashtags, and I get barely any interactions, or not even the interactions, barely any reach. Nobody has watched my story or seen my post. But then if I post up something that has nothing to do with anything, suddenly Instagram wants to roll up with the algorithm, and 500-600 people have seen it. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. I don't get that either. I don't get that. I wish that made more sense, and I don't know if it's due to the type of content that they like to push out. I don't know why, but I think sometimes it's trial and error. Sometimes it's trying different features, so reels, videos, pictures, stories, whatever, and just seeing what works, or what you can see over a month or 2 months that people have engaged with, and trying to create more of that. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you'll post something and it will get absolutely no play, and you'll post something else, and so it just sometimes doesn't make sense. But as much as we can, we want to have a little bit more of a strategy around how we do things. But there'll definitely be flukes where it's like, what? Why is this being pushed out? Why is this not being pushed out at all? So sometimes I don't understand exactly what they want, but I think we still have to, we do what we can, posting at the right times, having interesting content, using the right hashtags, looking at what people have engaged with in the past, and then we can use that to try and as much as possible to try and do that. And then when you post something random and it does well, just take that as a win as well. So that's the insights part. So yeah, I would definitely advise that every month or so going through and have a look at those insights. And here's just some Hustle and Heels content, so you can see what performed well, and then what the reach was. So people seem to like content where there's people in it, for example, where people might be smiling, or that there's, so for example, the reach by post, that one with the 4 women in the bikinis, people seem to enjoy that. So it can vary, but you can see that there might be sometimes where people seem to enjoy more than others. So here there are comments here, things that people seem to enjoy, which is around seeing people smiling, people having a good time. People seem to enjoy that, so that could help. So that's the data side. So I would say every month, every 2 months, review your data and see what's working, what's not working. Now we're going to look at SEO, so search engine optimization, which is about, so when you go on Google, for example, I don't know if when you were building your website, did you look at SEO?
Yeah.
So essentially it's just making sure that when people Google anything related to your product or service, your website comes out higher. So of course that helps people then to go onto your website and purchase your product or service. So it's just about having the right name. So, here we can see Stasia's Bakery, the best bakery in New York. So if someone had typed in best bakery in New York, they've added that to their name, so likely that it will come up. The domain, making sure the domain is similar to the name, instead of having a really complicated long name, and then having a good meta description, so that on Google it will pull up. If you describe what it is, people type in similar things, it will pull up on Google as well. So SEO is like a thing that, of course, people who've built websites or similar websites, or mostly websites, would have used. So if you use Wix, I've used Wix to create websites before, and it takes you through that SEO process itself. So that's SEO, something to consider. And you've got the website, but it's always worth reviewing and saying, what other things could people be typing to search for something similar to what I'm producing. And then hashtags as well, the hashtag and keyword strategy. I always say with hashtags, do you have hashtags saved anywhere that you typically use?
Yes. Okay. What I did is I found there was this website that showed which are the best hashtags to use for each kind of business.
Yeah.
So I use those.
Great, yeah. So essentially, that's the thing that so you can either make a list yourself, search related topics, and then check for a mix of those, or yeah, you can use Google AdWords, Keyword Planner, Google Trends, and they will show you the right types of words that you can use as well. And you can do kind of 30 hashtags or that are general, a little bit more narrow, and then niche to what you're looking at. So styling, clothing, they're general, and then when you get to the more niche, sustainable clothing, sustainable jeans, sustainable top, whatever, and then that will have people who are looking for those specific niche areas as well. So we're going to look at setting marketing budgets as well, if that's something that might be helpful. So I have used Facebook and Instagram to market before, and they're fairly inexpensive if you're looking to get kind of maybe a smaller reach. However, we're just going to look at whether it's worth it if you're wanting to use it as a real digital marketing tool to reach a lot of people. So there's a template. So with this template, it will show you how you can put in your own figures and to see, you know, what the outcome will be, whether it's worth it. So it's about looking at how does it fit into your current marketing strategy. It might not. Looking at how much it will cost per click. So Google have this cost per click for the keywords. And then it's about understanding, you know, how do you measure the return? Are people actually engaging with it? If you're spending money to market to people because of their interest, are they actually engaging with it and clicking on it? And most of the time, people don't like to be sold to. So actually, sometimes people look at this and ignore it. I don't know if you click on a lot of advertising posts.
No, I actually hate them.
Yeah. So a lot of time people don't. But if it was something that people are interested in, this is a template. So what you do is you put in your own numbers in here. So if your yearly revenue target is £20,000, that's how much you want to get per year. It would mean that your average revenue per sale would have to be about £100, and it would mean that your number of sales required would have to be 200. So you'd have to make 200 sales at £100 to make your yearly revenue target. So that's the working out there, revenue divided by revenue per sale. So then you would also look at actual website conversion rate. So the average e-commerce conversion rate is between 1% to 2%. And so you put 2% in there. And then the link clicks required usually is around 10,000. So for every 10,000 is what would convert. So here we've got the number of sales divided by the conversion rate to give you the link clicks required. So we need 10,000 people to click through. We've got the ad click-through rate, average ad click-through rate on Facebook ads across industries is around 1%. Again, so usually 1% to 2%, but 1% for this one. And then the estimated cost per click is about £1. So the average cost for that Facebook ad range is usually from about 25p to £2, which sounds about right to kind of what I've used it for. And Google is around £1 to £2. So if we put £1 in there, so in order for you to get the link clicks required and the ad click-through rate to make that target to hit the 20,000, you need to devise the link clicks required divided by the ad click-through rate. And so you can see here, that's on a small number of people that we need to engage for us to make that 20,000. So if we are pulling it all together, the Facebook ad spend we need to add to get these numbers, we need to spend £10,000, which is the link clicks required. So how many people will be clicking, and the cost per click multiplied together, that will give you 10,000. So essentially you need to be spending £10,000 to make a £20,000 revenue if you're selling 200 items at £100. And again, you could put your own numbers in there. So it just gives you an idea if you wanted to do more of a selling route with digital marketing, you wanted to actually buy ads and do it that way. The reach will be huge, yes, but for £10,000, I wonder if it's worth it, because there are other ways that you can promote that don't require you to spend £10,000. But it's an option if you were interested in actually purchasing some ads around on Facebook or Instagram, for example. So that's the marketing budget for that one. Any questions on that? You mentioned that it's not something that you particularly are interested in.
Can I borrow
£10,000? Exactly. And yeah,
because if I had £10,000,
you had 10,000 to spare, you would, yeah, who wouldn't? But exactly, and that's
I would spend it on something that would be, like, I'm sure there are ways that I could market that would have not necessarily more reach, but then, more return.
Exactly. And we just want to show people sometimes how much it costs when you're doing these. You could obviously spend £30 and reach maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people, but then the return obviously would be lower. But people might do that maybe every 6 months or so. But actually, sometimes just doing organic digital marketing sometimes is a little bit better, and it's free than paying for it. But it's an option if people wanted to do that. I've never paid that much for digital marketing, but it's an option. So in terms of tools and resources, could I ask what you typically use at the moment if you wanted to create some of these things for promotion?
I use Canva and I use InShot and Google Photos.
Okay, yeah.
To make collages and stuff.
Great. Canvas, I would say, the greatest one. It's literally can do everything. So we always say Canva. InShot as well. I edit videos sometimes if I'm making long videos, YouTube videos. I edit on InShot if I'm not using iMovie. Another one I really think is good is Adobe Creative Cloud, which is a free graphic design tool, very similar to Canva, but is created by Adobe. So the editing is really good on that as well. HubSpot as well, Pablo, and Pixabay for stock images as well. There's a few more. I probably lean towards Adobe Creative Cloud and Canva quite a lot, as opposed to some of the other ones. Let me just put this in. So yeah, some options there for creating. And of course, like I mentioned on TikTok, you can do all of this pretty much within TikTok and add the music as well, and then save the video, and you can load it onto other places as well. So the other thing just to point out in the last couple of minutes is that if you wanted to do an action plan, you are more than welcome to book someone to really look at your particular business area specifically and book some time. You can do an action plan and they'll take you through really step-by-step, answer specific questions, and they'll put together an action plan for you to do that has kind of SMART goals, and so it's a little bit more measurable. So if you're interested in booking a meeting with an advisor, you would just have to go to the same place that you booked onto here, the Elevate. You can book one-to-one advisors or go to Hustling Hills, but you can do it through the Waltham Forest, create and book an advisor for the one-to-one session as well.